Have you ever stopped and had a proper look at a brick? I mean, really looked. They're everywhere, aren't they? Houses, walls, factories, massive railway viaducts that have stood for donkey's years. We see millions of them every single day, but we never really think about where they come from. They're just there. But the journey of one of these humble blocks is a mega bit of engineering. It's a story of digging stuff out of the ground, mixing it all up, shaping it, and then giving it a proper roasting. It's a process that's been refined over thousands of years, but the basic idea is still the same. Take some special mud, get it into a block shape, and make it rock solid. It's brilliant, really. Think about it. These simple reddish-brown blocks are the backbone of Britain. From the old Victorian terraces in Sheffield to the grand town halls in Manchester, bricks have built our world. They're strong, they last for ages, and they look the business. But it's not just any old mud you can use. You need the right stuff, the proper ingredients, to make a brick that'll stand up to the wind and the rain for 100 years or more. It all starts deep in the ground, with a material that's been sitting there for millions of years, just waiting for us to come along and dig it up. It's a proper industrial adventure, this brick-making lark. The whole process is a masterclass in turning something soft and mucky into one of the toughest building materials known to man. It's a bit like baking a cake, but on a massive industrial scale, and instead of a tasty sponge at the end, you get something you can build a skyscraper with. Well, maybe not a skyscraper, but you get the idea. It's a transformation, isn't it? From a hole in the ground to the walls of your home. Every single step has to be spot on. The mix, the shape, the drying, and especially the firing. Get one bit wrong, and you've just got a pile of crumbly rubbish. So, let's get our hands dirty and break it down. We're going on a journey from the quarry to the building site. We'll look at the raw materials, the massive machines that get the job done, and the science behind why a baked bit of clay is so unbelievably strong. By the end of this, you'll never look at a simple brick the same way again. You'll see the engineering, the history, and the sheer hard graft that goes into every single one. Right then, let's get cracking. First stop, the quarry. It all kicks off in a massive hole in the ground. A quarry. But we're not digging for stone or slate, we're after clay and shale. These are the golden ingredients for a top-notch brick. Clay is basically superfine rock and mineral particles, all mashed together over millions of years. It's what's left behind by ancient rivers and glaciers. You find massive deposits of it all over the country, which is why different parts of Britain have different colored bricks. It all depends on the minerals in the local clay. Some clays are red because of iron, others are yellow or buff. It's geology in action, right there in the wall of a house. Getting this stuff out of the ground is a job for some serious kit. We're talking massive excavators, proper big ones, that can scoop up tons of clay and shale with each bite. They dig down, layer by layer, exposing the right kind of material. It's not just a case of digging anywhere, mind. Geologists will have surveyed the area to find the sweet spot, where the clay has the perfect consistency. The shale gets broken up by crushers, big rotating drums with massive steel hammers that smash it into smaller, more manageable pieces. It's loud, it's dusty, and it's the first crucial step in our brick's life. Once it's all dug up and crushed, the different materials need to be mixed together. It's like a recipe. You might need a bit more shale for strength, or a specific type of clay for color. They pile it all up in what they call a stockpile. This isn't just a random heap of dirt. It's carefully layered to make sure the final mix is just right. Sometimes, they'll add other bits and bobs, like sand, to stop the bricks from shrinking too much when they're fired, or iron oxide to get that classic red color just perfect. It's all about controlling the ingredients to get a consistent, reliable product at the end. From the stockpile, The clay mixture is moved by a conveyor belt into the factory. It's a non-stop production line. The clay is about to go through some serious machinery that will grind it, mix it, and get it ready for shaping. Think of it like a giant kitchen, but instead of flour and eggs, you've got tons of earth moving through the building. The noise is incredible, and the scale of it all is mind-boggling. All this effort just to prepare the raw material. The next stage is where the magic really starts to happen, and our pile of dirt begins to look like a proper brick. Right, the clay mixture is inside the works now, and it's time to get it into shape. But first, it needs a bit more prep. The clay goes into giant grinding pans, which are like massive pestles and mortars. Huge, heavy rollers weighing several tons each roll over the clay, crushing it into a fine powder. Water is added at this stage, very carefully controlled, to get the perfect amount of moisture. Too wet and the bricks will be sloppy. Too dry and they'll crumble. It's all about getting it to the consistency of a stiff dough, ready for the next big machine. This is where things get interesting. The most common way to form bricks in Britain is the extrusion method. The prepared clay is fed into a machine called an extruder, or a pug mill. Imagine a giant industrial sausage maker. The clay is forced through a mixing chamber by a massive screw, which gets rid of any air bubbles. If you leave air in the clay, the brick could explode in the kiln, and you don't want that. At the end of the machine is a rectangular die, which is the exact cross-section of a brick. The pug mill pushes out one long, continuous column of clay, like a massive, muddy Kit Kat. As this column of clay snakes its way out onto a conveyor belt, it passes through a cutter. This is basically a frame with a load of tightly strung wires. At just the right moment, the frame slices down through the clay column, cutting it into individual bricks, neat as you like. These freshly cut bricks are called green bricks, not because they're the color green, but because they're new and unfired. They're soft, damp, and you could easily squash one with your hand. They're the right shape, but they're a long way from being ready to build with. There's another way they do it too, the soft mud process. This is a more traditional method. A lump of softer, wetter clay is dropped into a mold, which is often dusted with sand to stop it from sticking. The excess clay is scraped off the top, and the mold is turned over to pop the brick out. This gives the bricks a more rustic, handmade look, with a slightly rougher texture. Whichever way they're made, our green bricks now have to be handled with care as they head off to the next stage, the drying rooms. They need to lose some water before they can face the furnace. Now we have our pallets stacked high with thousands of soft green bricks. They're the right shape, but they're still full of water. If we put them straight into the main oven now, the water would turn to steam so fast they'd crack or even explode. So first, they need a gentle drying session. They're wheeled into massive drying chambers, which are like big warm rooms. For about 1 to 2 days, carefully controlled hot air, often recycled from the cooling kilns, is blown over them. This slowly and gently evaporates most of the moisture, making the bricks hard enough to be handled and stacked without losing their shape. Once they're properly dried, it's time for the main event, the kiln. This is the heart of the whole operation. Modern brick factories use what's called a tunnel kiln, which is a massive, long tunnel, sometimes over 100 meters long. The bricks are loaded onto fireproof kiln cars and slowly, very slowly, pushed through the tunnel. It's a bit like a slow-motion ghost train, but instead of scary monsters, there's just incredible, searing heat. The journey through this tunnel can take 2 to 3 days, and it's a one-way trip to becoming rock solid. The process has to be slow to make sure the bricks heat up and cool down evenly. As the bricks travel through the tunnel, the temperature gradually ramps up. It starts off warm, then gets hot, then it gets to the firing zone in the middle, where it's absolutely roasting. We're talking over 1,000 degrees Celsius. At this insane temperature, A chemical change happens in the clay. The particles fuse together in a process called vitrification. This is what turns the soft, dried clay into a hard, dense, ceramic material that's incredibly strong and can stand up to the British weather. The color of the brick also develops here as the minerals in the clay react to the heat. It's proper science, this. After passing through the hottest part of the kiln, the bricks begin their slow journey through the cooling section. Cool air is blown over them, gradually bringing their temperature back down. This cooling process is just as important as the heating. Cool them too fast and they'll crack. Once they emerge at the other end of the tunnel, they're finished. They've been through a trial by fire and come out the other side as proper, tough-as-old-boots building blocks. They get stacked by robots, wrapped, and are now ready to be sent off to building sites all over the country to become part of our homes, schools, and cities. Absolutely mega!